Well, hi, everybody. It's the end of the month. Time to kind of put our ducks in a row and see what's been going on. That means it's time for another OSTA update. Hi, everybody. I'm Bill Bateman, part of the team here at OSTA, the Oregon State Tenants Organization. And yes, indeed, it is the 28th of February. We're all out of February, my goodness. Top of the news, of course, is HB 3054. I get a lot of calls, people wondering what's going on, what's the status. And I actually heard from Rep Marsh yesterday, and everything is in process, everything is moving along. I have decided, because it's a fairly complex process, something's on the table, something's off the table, something's going, something's not going, then it's back. I don't want to get into an hourly, almost like a boxing match, blow-by-blow description. That's very confusing, it's very unsettling, and it leads to misinformation. So I have nothing to report other than things are moving forward. I wish I had more to share, but I don't have anything concrete. So the idea is I will, as soon as I get it, I will share it with you. There are going to be some proposed amendments, and I'm going to talk about one of them here in a few minutes. I know there's a lot of concern. In fact, let's talk about it right now. There have been a lot of people saying the small park owners, because really there are three people. There are three dogs in this fight, if you will. There's you and I, the homeowners. There are the big corporations that own hundreds of parks. And then there are the independent parks, the folks who have maybe one, maybe two parks, the smaller mom and pop owners. And we met some of those at the hearing in early February. And they seem to be kind of caught in the crosshairs. Or if you take another look at it, they're the human shield being used by the corporations. It's difficult for them, and the big concern for them is the rent reset issue. For us as well, it's the rent reset issue that makes it hard for us to sell our home, because the rent goes up significantly when we move out. Eats up our equity. The concern is maintenance and cost, and operating a park is, according to these folks, highly, highly expensive. And they feel they'd be caught in the middle between the big corporations and the homeowner, and they'd have to stop operating. I could spend hours going back and forth on this, but I have an idea, and it's very simple. This is something I think could be done quite easily. Show us. Open your books. I know that in our park, I've looked around and I've watched. We have regular meetings here. We walk around the park every day, obviously. And the parks I visit when I go out to work with you folks out there. When our reps go out, when I go out, we look around. What's being done? You see, maintenance, and anybody who owns a car understands this. You don't have to own a mobile home park. Anybody who owns a car knows if you don't do the little stuff, it builds and builds and builds, and then it becomes a big thing. We in this park had a situation. There was a water problem that had gone untreated. I have information that says between 5 and 7 years. Finally, it let go, and we had people here at midnight on a Saturday with tractors and backhoes trying to get things under control. It was not cheap. Now, I'd be curious to know, because as a business owner, I always had a contingency fund. I always had an emergency fund. I had savings. I had insurance. I had things put aside for when stuff broke, because stuff does. I would like to know, park owners, especially you big guys. I hear how much you're spending. I'd like to know what you're spending it on, because I'm not seeing it. I understand the water bill comes due. I understand the trash has to be picked up. I understand property taxes have to be paid. I have to pay my property taxes too. So, yes, there's the average Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday things we all have to deal with. But the sidewalks aren't getting fixed. The trees aren't getting trimmed. Things aren't done until they become a crisis, which makes them more expensive. So my challenge to you, open your books. Big park or little park. Show us what you're spending your money on. Show us if you have a contingency. We know you're making money because we see the rent go up every year. Is that going to profits for the shareholders, or is that going to running the park? And if so, how? If this information is available, maybe we can sit with you and come up with some ideas. Maybe there are some tax incentives. Maybe there are some deferred payment plans that can be worked out through the state. I mean, there's 100 different ideas out there to make things easier for everybody. And I have to say, at OSTA, we do not view the homeowners and the renters and the parks as adversaries. We're not adversaries because without one, you don't have the other. This is a challenge. Show me what you got. Open your books. Show us these immense, tremendous costs you're spending every month and evidence of the work being done. My email address is on the front of this podcast. I'm not hard to find. So, let's see where that goes. HB 3054 tied to that. Show us your books. And finally, a bit of information for all of our folks out there. Somebody in my park came to me and said, "Hey, Bill, do you know we got somebody here who, because of the snow and because it's been so cold," it was in the teens here in the Phoenix area, Phoenix, Medford, that type of stuff. It got darn cold. I think that's a meteorological term. Yeah, it did get really cold. And what are we going to do about that? What happens is some of the folks are getting tremendous sky-high electric bills trying to stay warm. There are some people, I know this firsthand, they had to close off all the rooms in their house and just have a single space heater. And they turned their thermostat way down. Now, snow is something we don't have all the time. Cold weather is something we do get a number of months, and the bills seem to get higher. There is some discussion about that. That's a separate podcast. This is for those of you who may be having problems with energy costs. Access. Done here, statewide program, Access. We work with them. They're fine people. They have an energy assistance and weatherization program. Now, the program is designed to assist low-income households in paying for a portion of their energy costs. And the good news is you do not need to have a shutoff notice to be eligible for assistance. You don't need to be in the weeds. So before you get into a bad position, call Access. I'm going to give the number a couple of times, and it will be on the front of this podcast. Please call Access Energy Assistance 541-779-9020. That number again, 541-779-9020. I'll include this number and the website address on the front of the broadcast. There's a lot of other good things you can look at. I know at our house, I didn't have the time to get in and go to my electric company. We're a customer of Pacific Power, and they will average your bill, and you pay a specific amount. Let's say some months you're paying $90, some months you're paying $230. They average it out, and you pay $130 every month. It helps you plan. It's not a surprise. You can do that online. It took me about 45 seconds. You do have to have been a client for at least a year, and you do have to be current. You can't be in a collection or having some problems like that. So there's a lot of different ideas and a lot of different options out there. The thing that helps in our park is folks know they can reach out. And if you are not talking about these kind of issues in your manufactured home community through your newsletter. We have a couple of monthly meetings. We're adding a third. We have our association meeting. We have our monthly newsletter that goes out. And we're also just having a coffee drop-in. Just kind of a, come on by, we're going to cut up an Entenmann's and have a pot of coffee and see what we can do here. And I'm really having a problem, or did you know so-and-so? It's not gossiping. It's a case of sharing information because I got ideas you don't have, and you have ideas and information that I don't have. So let's work together on things like energy assistance, and they also have a food pantry through Access, and that number is also going to be up at the front of the program. So that's where we're ending out the month. Update on the bill, a challenge to the big corporations to open their books, show us how much you're spending, and a little bit of information on staying warm and keeping the lights on. So these are serious issues. We'll have more information as it becomes available. Thank you for listening. We look forward to speaking to you again real soon.